What's up guys, it's Nelson here from Jolly Roger Airsoft, and today we are going to be starting a new little introductory series into how to play Airsoft effectively when you are just starting out. We're going to be going over different guns, different gun brands, different tactical gear, some of the bare essentials you need to play Airsoft effectively. And it can be a very confusing and scary world when you're dealing with $100 guns and you really don't have any clue how to operate it. And you really kind of have to learn from experience, and I want to try and cut some of that out and provide an informative base for a young player to get into Airsoft with. So keep in mind, these are just my opinions, and I do the best that I can to be correct in all my factual estimates, but even I make mistakes, and as does the rest of my crew. And so yeah, bear with us. We're not perfect. Nobody is. And these are just our opinions. If you disagree, that's fine. But we respect your right to disagree, but this is the way I would start if I was starting again. So, with that being said, let's get down to Airsoft Boot Camp.
The American people are at war.
We are studying combat applications of the Sixth Sense.
We did send men into Afghanistan. Your brother was with me.
British troops marching off to war in Europe.
Help me take down Vanilla Chaff.
Dimitri, all targets accounted for.
You can't kill Vanilla Chalk.
Please, Father.
I'm sorry, my son. I am too old for war.
Alright, so you think you have what it takes to be an Airsofter? Here are the 3 things we're going to go over in this lesson. Number 1, buying a gun. You need an effective weapon at a low price. Nobody respects someone who goes out and buys a $300 KWA as their first gun. 2, we'll be going over different weapons platforms. You should become familiar with all of these because there are lots of different guns out there, and you also need to know some basic facts about them. 3rd, we're going to be going over where to play. Where should you play? Where shouldn't you play? So we're going to start off with your weapon. This is the most important part of a beginner Airsofter's loadout. You are nothing without your weapon. You are useless.
Let's start off with some quick tips about buying a gun. Here are some things to consider when buying a gun. First, price. How invested are you willing to get into Airsoft? Do you think this is going to be a long-term hobby? 2, the brand. What brand is it? How reputable is this brand? What kind of things have you heard about the brand? Now don't base all your decisions solely on the brand. 3, the specifications of the gun. How long is the gun? How big is it? What type is it? Do you want an M4? Do you want a G36? Do you want an AK? And also keep in mind of what kind of environment you'll be playing in. Now about Walmart guns. Walmart guns are good for backyard skirmishes and messing around, but they're not for the serious Airsofter. If you plan on pursuing Airsoft seriously, I would shy away from the Walmart gun. I define the novice price range as being between $100 and $170. This range will give you adequate performance as well as a nice low budget. Here are some budget-friendly airsofting brands. First you have JG. They're a Chinese company that is specially known for making low-end, low-quality guns for very cheap prices that shoot very hard. Next you have G&G, who is most famous for their Combat Machine M4 series, which features their very nice revolutionary polymer bodies. Next you have Javelin Gunworks. They make full metal, low budget M4s, so if you want a full metal gun, that's one of your options. There's also SRC, another Taiwanese company that makes a lot of different variations of guns with nice external finishes and nice internals as well. Echo One is a bit more expensive than some of these others, but they also make very quality guns at relatively low prices. There are plenty of other brands, including Ares, A&K, D-Boys, AGM, Cyma, and the Classic Army Sportline series, all companies to consider when choosing a gun as a novice. When choosing a platform, you should really take into account your playstyle and primary environment you're going to be playing in, either CQB or field. CQB is an indoor, close-quarters environment, while field is more outdoors, long-range, mil-sim type deals. Also keep in mind what kind of accessories you want to put on the gun, and how you want your gun to look. We're going to start with the most popular airsofting family, the M4/M16 family. There are so many different M4 variants out there on the airsofting market that it's ridiculous. Almost everybody uses an M4, and that's why it's mostly advantageous to have one. Some of the pros include it's the most popular airsoft platform, so there's plenty of aftermarket upgrades. It's also a very adaptable platform and can be configured for either CQB or field play. As for the cons, everybody has an M4, so it's not very unique. Crane stocks can also wobble, and batteries can be a tricky fit in the handguards or crane stock. Next up is the H&K G36. This is a really cool, unique European platform designed by H&K, a German company, and has a lot of unique and cool features that you wouldn't find on M4s. Pros include it is a fully ambidextrous gun. It uses the Ready Mag system, which allows you to lock your mags together for a quick mag change. It also has a folding stock and good modularity of parts. The cons are it has bulky big magazines, but they hold 470 rounds, has small battery space in the handguard, and the short barrel length limits its effectiveness in field. Moving on, the AK family is another very popular family of airsoft guns. The original AK was the first produced in the late 1940s. It has been the most widespread assault rifle in the entire world. An AK style gun is a must for anyone wishing to pursue a Russian or OPFOR terrorist loadout. Some pros of the system are it's generally pretty cheap, there are large magazines that hold 600 rounds, there are plenty of options and styles because so many different variants of the AK exist, and it has a very long barrel length. The cons include there are bulky and large magazines, there's limited modularity and other customizable parts, so it's harder to put on sights, rails, or other accessories like flashlights or foregrip. I have classified the next-gen rifles family together instead of going over them individually. They are the SCAR, the ACR/Masada, and the Robinson Arms XCR. These three guns share a lot of the same features as they've all been developed recently to replace existing assault rifles. The pros, they are all very unique and have very sleek designs. They all take STANAGs or M4 style magazines. There's lots of rail space for accessories, and they all have folding stocks for CQB. The cons, they are expensive, and there are fewer aftermarket parts available, and fewer companies make them. And yeah, they're really expensive. The bullpup family is another unique and modern family, based on a bullpup design, which means the magazine is behind the shooting hand instead of traditionally in front. These include the F2000, the SA88, the P90, and the TAR-21. These are expensive guns, but they are becoming more readily available and cheaper, especially with the advent of like the S&T Tavor. That's a very inexpensive one. The pros, they're compact but have a long barrel thanks to their bullpup design. They take STANAG or M4 magazines except for the P90, and they are very unique and good for either CQB or field. Cons, they're generally expensive and there are few aftermarket parts. And also shooting bullpup can be a little awkward at first since it's different from the traditional shooting style. Last but not least, we're going to be going over LMGs, or light machine guns. These are usually carried by support classes, but in airsoft that's not so much of a distinction since the BBs are all the same size. LMGs have high capacity magazines and long barrels. Pros, it's freaking awesome. It has super high cap magazines, thousands of rounds, long barrels for accuracy, and bigger is always better. The cons, they're often expensive, often prone to malfunction, and they are very heavy. These things are huge.
Alright, so now we're going to be discussing where to play. Now, there are a lot of different options for where you can play, but it's often one of the harder aspects of coming up with an airsofting community. Now, I personally play either here at my house, because we have a lot of woods out here, or at my friend's house. He has another pretty big backyard, you've seen it, and that's where we play. It's pretty private, pretty secluded, you know, we don't cause a whole lot of trouble when we do it, and the neighbors don't get too mad when we go out and shoot each other with our guns. And that's really all you want. You want a kind of private place, away from people, because people don't like airsoft in general. They don't like people running around with fake guns. They get more realistic every day, shooting each other in their backyards. So basically, respect people's property if you're going to have a backyard airsofting game. Now, backyarding airsofting games can get pretty big. We've had 17 people over before. I've seen people with 20, 25. You know, these things get pretty big. Just respect the trespassing laws, respect people's property, and don't do anything stupid. If you're going to play in a backyard, I'd recommend keeping some sort of orange tip on your gun. Basically because, you know, the police could get involved and you want as little trouble as possible. The most important thing, though, is to be respectful. If people walk into your area of operations, cease fire. That's what we do. If there's anyone who has a complaint, be respectful with them. Don't argue. Just be respectful and agree. If you have to move away, have to stop, go ahead. Just you don't want the cops involved. That's basically the gist of this. Don't get the police involved. We want to keep airsoft as a growing sport, and if people do stupid things and are arrogant about it, then it's not going to grow because the feds are going to slap a whole bunch of regulations on it and it's just not going to go well. So, with that being said, there's also airsofting fields that are dedicated for airsoft and paintball that you can play at. I know I go down to Ballahack Airsoft in Chesapeake, Virginia. That's a great little field, 99 acres. They have private property. They have hundreds of people over every day. Well, not every day, but every weekend. And they play airsoft. And it's a really great experience to play with that many people. These big ops can range from 100 people to like 400 people. They can be big. They can also be expensive. Sometimes the operations can be $50 to $100 to get in. But usually at Ballahack, it's $20 for a Saturday game and they'll do a long op, you know. But yeah, these are things that are more fun with a friend though. So if you have like a group of people who like to go ahead and start a team. Like Jolly Roger Airsoft, I don't know if it's an official team, but when we go down to Ballahack, we go as a group and we fight together. So that's basically how we do it. So if you have a bunch of friends over, it's nice and it's more fun that way than being a complete stranger and running around shooting people. It's always more fun to shoot people with friends. So, that being said, those are the places you should play. You should not play anywhere that people are unprotected civilians are walking around, or you shouldn't play in streets. You shouldn't play in people's front yards. You shouldn't even play in people's backyards, although it happens. You should respect all trespassing laws and all property. And yeah, be respectful and keep our sport safe. Also, eye protection. Always wear eye protection. Never forget it. It's bad. If you see a buddy without his eye pro on, tell him to put it on. So, because we don't want anyone getting their eyes shot out, because that gives the sport a bad name. So, eye pro and respect the law. So, the orange tip issue. I'm going to address that. Basically, it's a federal regulation that if they're going to ship it into the country or sell it, you have to have a 1/4 inch orange tip. Now, do you have to keep it on? That really depends state to state, county to county. There's no one federal law about that. But in general, if you don't bring your airsoft guns out in public at all, but if you do, make sure you have a bright orange tip or a barrel cover, but really you shouldn't be transporting them in public at all. Most operations, most big fields, don't require orange tips. So yeah, it's not technically a law. You don't have to have it on as long as you're on private property. That's been the first episode of Airsoft Boot Camp presented by Jolly Roger Airsoft. Stay tuned for episodes 2 and 3, and we are going to go over some basic tactics next episode, like breaching, clearing, moving, commands, that kind of thing. So yeah, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Peace out.